welcome to the Mind Chimp podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Mind Chimp podcast. My name is Gemma Paterson and this is a special episode of the podcast where I am joined by the man behind Mind Chimp himself, Mr. Danny Seals, and Sam Davis. Hi guys.
Hello.
How are we doing, Gemma? You okay?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for joining me in this weird role reversal. So I don't need to explain how Mind Chimp works to you, Danny. You invented it, you literally created it. So let's get straight into it. So first of all, can I ask you both to pick three numbers each? So Sam, if I can go to you first, please.
Yeah, so I'll go for 7, 77 and 100 because nobody probably goes to the extreme.
Perfect. And Danny, same question to you.
Yeah, so Sam, there's always one person who goes extreme, so it seems like it's always you. I will go 5, number 8, and number 83.
Perfect. Brilliant. So that's the mysterious number bit out of the way. So before we go any further, do you both just want to introduce yourself for new listeners of the podcast or even for regular listeners?
So Sam, you can start if you want.
Yep, so my name's Sam Davis. Most people who are in L&D and sort of listen to this podcast probably won't know me from Adam because it's not an industry that I work in, but I am privileged enough to know Danny for quite some time, and we're starting up a new venture together, which I think we'll talk about a little bit later on.
Beautiful, Sam.
Perfect.
So I think pretty much everyone knows me, really, right? So, yep, the Mind Chimp podcast is me. I guess before, how long? I've been in L&D for what feels like donkeys and donkeys of years, so about 8 years. And yeah, me and Sam have decided to come up with this, what I think and what I think Sam thinks is something beautiful. Beautiful is probably the best I'd wrap it up to, Gemma.
Brilliant. Well, that is totally whet my appetite, and I would love to find out more about this beautiful creation that you've come up with. So do you want to introduce a little bit about the concept to me, and just talk a little bit about what this beautiful new thing that you've created together is?
Sure thing. Sam, you know what? I think everyone's going to get bored of hearing my voice all the time. So if you want to start, and I'll jump in wherever if you like.
Yeah, so I guess in my sort of day job, I'm a project manager at local authorities, and in time gone by, I've been involved in projects that have involved sort of procuring L&D services and basically getting hold of different vendors. Now, first time I was getting into that, I found it to be a minefield, and it was very difficult to sort of delve into that market without really knowing, without having a guide, without having a map. Now, I was lucky enough that sort of having a conversation with Danny about this back in the day over a beer, I had that sort of guide. I had someone to steer me properly and give me insight and sort of information and that kind of thing, introduced me to the right people, that kind of stuff. But it kind of struck me, in all the other things that I work on, there's always a kind of a place to go, a one-stop shop, and a kind of comparison of different suppliers and vendors and that kind of thing. And I was shocked that a market like L&D didn't really have that as such. So that kind of started the conversation off. And Danny might want to cut in here, but interestingly enough, he sort of come back to say to me, actually, I've had ideas about that in the past, and this kind of idea was born.
Yeah, nice one, Sam. So I think it probably started around about 2016 for me, Gemma. So I've worked as, in big organizations where I've had to bring people on, as Gemma you have, and it's always an interesting one because, like, how do you reach out to find out who's the right person for your problem, right? Like the gut feeling is you'll reach out to someone and it'll be a case of, I know Bob who's done this, so I'll ask Bob what their experience was of X vendor. And it kind of hit me. It was a case of, actually, a lot of the time, it's never really a level playing field for people. Like, you've got let's use the big tech industry who have big, like, marketing budgets. And then you have Bob, who might be a new up and comer, and actually he might not have a budget to be able to do, he might not have the budget to kind of push out the marketing, what a big, LMS or LXP or whatever has. That doesn't mean he's not good for your problem. And it kind of hit me on the fact that I was just like, there's something there where you can kind of level it and level it out. And actually, what will happen is it'll bring the industry up together. And it's not a case of saying Bob's better than Sue. It's more about actually, I think there's a saying, isn't there? Rising tides lift all ships, or something like that. And that's kind of how I see what Venndorly is, I guess. I remember Sam kind of, when he reached out to me and he was kind of looking for, these vendors when he was in a role. I remember that beer, Sam. I remember sitting down and sat on the couch, and I was like, how have you found it? And he was like, it's like swimming in treacle. Like, it was, I remember looking at you and seeing the frustration. And it is, right? It's hard work. So it comes down to two things. You've either got lots and lots of time, or you've got, or you're wasting your time marketing and stuff. So maybe for you, Gemma, how much time do you kind of take to kind of find the right vendor? It must be a struggle, right?
It definitely is. And I know we've talked about this before, sort of, I think before you'd even shared that you were working on the idea, and I'd shared a bit of the pain that I'd felt about working in big organizations and not only trying to balance the role that you're doing, but also the processes that you might have to follow in an organization, even just to get a sight of what vendors are out there. You might have to go through like a really formal RFI process. And so for me, if there was a way of really easily and simply connecting with people who were good, who could perhaps show me how to do things a little differently, who might not be front of my mind or I might never have heard of before, but who I knew that I could trust because they'd been recommended, for me, that would be magic. And it feels like something that could probably save a lot of time as well. And for me, that's mega important because I'm always rushing around like a headless chicken.
Yeah, and in that as well, so what got me particularly interested, from once my sort of problem was solved and I moved on and Danny and I were still talking about all of this, there was this kind of vacuum of data and reliable information to sort of say, these are the right people to choose, these are the best people for you. Because as Danny said, every challenge is different, and it might be that someone you've never heard of is perfect for your particular challenge, but you've never heard of them. And you're never going to hear of them if you don't know where to go looking. So this is a good place to look for them. And then once you do find those people, it's a case of knowing whether or not they're going to be the right fit, and whether or not they're, the best place to find that information is someone's history, I suppose. If someone's been good in the past, they're likely to be good in the future. And getting that kind of information from your peers and people who've been in your shoes before, and then getting the data to back that up, I think is a perfect marriage between the client and the vendor. To kind of prove that, this is the right fit.
Totally. No, I totally agree. So I feel like you've really whet my appetite for what this amazing thing is that you've created. What I'd love to do is maybe let's find out a little bit more about you, Sam, and a bit more about you, Danny, and then let's dig into what Venndorly is and what it might do for us.
Sure.
So can I ask you, I don't know if you want to do this collectively as Venndorly or if you want to do it separately, ask you, what is your tagline?
Go for it, Sam.
So Venndorly's tagline is "Finding Learning Has Developed." For me, I saw this cup once, and it always made me laugh because every job I end up in, I always end up being known as the spreadsheet guy, the guy who's on the spreadsheets all the time. I saw this cup once, it had a little MS Excel logo on it. Then in big black letters, it said Excel's between the sheets. And ever since then, that's just stuck in my mind. So let's go with that.
Amazing. Excel's between the sheets. There you go, Sam. L&D, everybody meet Sam.
You can remember one thing, just remember that.
Just remember that. And Danny, if you can beat that one, be my guest. What's your tagline?
I don't think I can beat that, to be honest. I mean, anyone who can get Excel in a tagline is wins in my eyes. I think mine's never really kind of changed. I think for me, it's about just staying curious and asking why. Why is it we're doing it that way? Why are we doing it this way? And I think when I've had this done before, when it was in season 1, and I think I said something along the lines of a continuous, curious chimp. And I think that's what it is. Like, just because that's the way we do it now, it doesn't mean that's the right way or that we shouldn't do something different. So, yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
I went with a grown-up one there, not the Excel.
So, speaking of grown up, what do you want to be when you grow up?
So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a lawyer, but I was privileged enough to be taught in college by a former lawyer who very much talked me out of it.
I don't know, Sam.
Talked you down.
He's still got the lawyer kind of, the tone about you, Sam. I think maybe a little bit of that's still in you, the lawyer.
It's time yet, Dan. It's time yet.
Well, we know where to come if we're in a pinch. What about you, Danny? What do you want to be when you grow up?
So I always wanted to do kind of the special effects in films. So there was something magical about that. Like if you were to ask me what I want to be now, that's probably something different. But when I was younger, it was I wanted to do the special effects in films. I watched a film, I think it was called SFX. I think it was like 1980s. It was created, and that kind of that got me fired up. Just the fact of being creative and being able to turn, me and you and Sam into vampires or zombies or whatever. That was my thing. I enjoyed that.
Love it. Brilliant. So you talked a little bit just at the top of the podcast about what you're up to now, but what got you here? Let's go to Sam first.
So after I decided that law probably wasn't for me, I was kind of a bit lost because I'd probably spent the sort of latter part of my teenage years thinking that's what I wanted to do. So I'm sort of 16, 17, not knowing really what to do. And not necessarily the first place you think of to find a job, but I ended up working in a library at 17. And that gave me two things that I've stuck with me since. So one was a wife, and the other thing was access to lots of information. And I spent that time there, apart from doing my job, obviously, teaching myself how to code and getting into databases. And I mentioned Excel before, and that sort of developed into an interest into business analysis and data and that kind of thing. And then slowly I've sort of ebbed my way into jobs where I've been able to explore those fields and sort of develop those skills. And that's something that I spend a lot of my time doing now.
Yeah,
brilliant.
And I think kind of just building on that, I think for me, Gemma, the reason why creating something like Venndorly was a no-brainer for me was because everything I hate, Sam loves. So anything what's Excel and anything what's got numbers in, I have dyslexia and dyspraxia, so numbers and all that jazz is not for me. So when Sam told me, oh yeah, Excel's my thing, cue the smoke and the doves flying in slow motion behind me.
Spreadsheet guys here.
Yeah.
Match made in heaven. Excel's between the sheets is here to save the day. Brilliant. Cool, thank you. So I feel like that's given me a really good sense of how you guys got together, some of this magic you've started to create, and a little bit of what brought you here. Let's hear a little bit more about sort of your successes in terms of what you've been doing. Can you tell me a little bit about your most recent successes? Let's go for personally first, and then we'll talk a bit about professional. So, Danny, what's been a recent personal success for you?
That's a good question. I haven't got a wife yet, so that might be a success. I'm not sure. I am engaged, so and I've managed to drag that.
Yeah, you might not be for long after that comment.
My personal success. So I think Mindchimp's done quite well. So it was interesting. I was reflecting on what Mindchimp was. So the Mindchimp story started out as a pain point, something I was just frustrated with when I very first got into L&D, and I was like, why does this thing not exist? So then it created a community, and off the back of that, it then created a podcast, and then off the back of that, it created events. And it was interesting. So the podcast is 2 years old next week, and it was just a nice moment for me to reflect and go, actually, I don't have editors. I don't you seem just before we press record. I'm sat here with a quilt over my head. So I think that's probably been my biggest success, other than what's coming next. I think that's been a nice moment for me.
Brilliant. Thank you, Danny. And Sam, what about you? What's been a success in your personal life recently?
So I alluded to it earlier, but I recently got married to Library Girl, as I've called her before.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. neither of us work there anymore, but we've both got a bit of a souvenir from that, which is the pair of us. Dan was actually the best man at that wedding as well. Well, second best because I was there, but he did a good job of it.
Nice. Oh, awesome! It's really nice to hear your story of how you've got together there. So thinking about sort of on a professional level, it sounds like there's been a few sparks flying around Venndorly. What has been your most recent success professionally?
Sam, you can have that one first if you want.
So I've recently been promoted in my day job, which is obviously a nice thing. But I think just getting to where we've got to between Danny and I, 2-man team pretty much, to get Venndorly to where it is, I've been quite proud of that, and I'm really excited to take it through to the next steps.
Smooth, Sam.
Brilliant.
Smooth. How do I top that? So obviously, you've already mentioned Venndorly, Sam, so I probably won't mention that because that is a big success for me. I think just working with developers and kind of things what I think are simple, and then when I sit down, I go, sweet baby Jesus, that's not simple. I think that's been quite a big eye opener for me. So Venndorly has been for me. It has been a really positive thing. I think on top of that, there's another announcement, with where I am with GP. I can't share that yet though, which sucks. But yeah, so I've had quite a good few months. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think Venndorly's the one what kind of is really exciting at the moment because it's got that startup feel. It's got that feel of this is something where there's going to be lots and lots of lessons learned. So yeah, I think that's probably my personal one. Even though it's still kind of worker, it's personal because I'm learning lots which I took from the other startup where I worked at, and then I'm bringing everything from a background and my lessons learned personally from my talk and my O2 days and looking at all the pain points from there. So yeah, it's even though it's still worky, there's a lot of personal reflection what's gone on to kind of get it, I guess.
Love that, and it sounds like it's sort of your baby really for both of you. It sounds like it's something that you've had the idea together and you've seen it through, and it's now starting to really come to life. So that feels a bit magic. So thinking about Venndorly, I know about it just from conversations that we've had, Danny, but I know a lot of the people listening to this podcast might only just be hearing about it for the first time. So can you tell me a little bit about it? Just sort of give me the elevator pitch of Venndorly.
Yeah. So should I go with this one, Sam? Should I start us off?
Well, I'll quote you here, Dan, because you've been saying this a lot lately, and I think it's a really good succinct way of putting it. If Airbnb and Trustpilot got together and have a love child, it would be this. And this is the sort of love child of those two things for the L&D and the HR space, and I think that's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Smooth.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I mean, yeah, it feels like to me from the way you've described it as a disruptor, just like those things have been, like TripAdvisor and like Airbnb have been. So it feels like you're operating in that same space. So one of the things that I love is I love a problem. And in my job in L&D, I'm always trying to solve problems. So tell me about the problem that you are trying to fix with Venndorly. What is the issue? I know you alluded to it a little bit at the start, but give me a bit of a breakdown of some of the pain points that this is going to solve.
So for me, as the potential, the client in time gone by, it was that feeling of, not having the insight and the data and that lost at sea kind of feeling, and thinking that, there must be other people in my position who are struggling to sort of find the right people for their particular problem or their particular challenge. And the more we've spoken to people who are in that boat, the more we've sort of seen a need for this.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think there's two sides, right? The way I kind of see this is there's two key people here. You've got your clients and your vendors. And when we use vendors, we use it in a broad term. So your vendors can be your one-man bands, it can be your HR, your learning tech, your whatever. And for me, I just think because I've been on both sides of that coin, I can relate to both them pain points. So when I was in the L&D and I was sourcing out vendors for X, Z, Y, it was just a case of who do I trust? Who do I trust what isn't marketing. Show me what's real versus what's marketing. Because I think you had that problem, right, Sam? You was like, actually, where's everything to back it up?
Yeah, and speaking to you after the experiences I've had of procuring these kind of services and these vendors, we broke it down, and really the solution was really simple, wasn't it? It was just dead simple market intelligence, some analytics, some NPS scoring, and a bit of sort of audience data into what people, what the vendors have been like in the past. Really, those very simple things that are dead easy to collect, just all in one space where you can kind of essentially decide what's best for you based on facts and based on data. It's not hard to pull all those things to one place. It's just that that's not been done already.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. It is those just sort of, it's that all in one place thing that I think seems to be the secret sauce for me. It's like it stops you from having to go and ask 5 people about something or look up some data or digest a report. It sort of feels like it would do it for you.
Yeah.
I think one of the questions that oh, sorry, Danny, go on.
No, I think I was just going to build on that, Gemma, because you pulled up a good point. Like we talk about things what need to match our consumer lives, right? Like you wouldn't ever, in this day and age, even if you look at Amazon, the first thing you do on Amazon before you buy a product now is you look at reviews. Like, if you want honest insight, and don't get me wrong, reviews can be gamed as much as anything else. Apart from on ours, it will not be fast instant fact. But I think the thing is you've got your one-man bands as well, right? So one of the things which I remember when I was in my startup, it was a case of how do we differentiate the noise and how do we show actually how good we really are and how good our product is? Because your one-man bands, for example, they are awesome. They are brilliant. And I say one man, one woman, one whatever. They are awesome at what they do. They care about it, and like everything they do for a reason, because they believe and they think that what they're doing is helping the industry. So it's always about, they've always got positive intent. And for me, the thing is when I asked them what's their pain points, what they're feeling, they said, I can't compete with the big boys. I've got to manage my social media. I've got to manage my personal brand. I've got to manage all my clients. I've got to manage my calendar. I've got to do this. I've got to get RFPs done. And it started to kind of get overwhelming for him. And for someone who maybe only just starting up, or someone who's been here for a year, that's still a big thing to juggle. And it's still a massive challenge.
Yeah, completely. And having been sort of both sides of the fence as well, I've seen how it feels to be a client in that situation, but also how it feels to be a supplier and having to fill out like tons and tons of documents for RFPs just to get a conversation going with someone is like impossible for a small company, like you say. So just listening to you talk there, both of you, it sounds like there's perhaps a couple of audiences for this. Can you tell me a little bit more about who might use Venndorly and who might find it useful?
Go for it, Sam. You can have this one for a starter, and I'll jump in where.
So I guess the two most obvious sides of the coin are the vendors themselves, and as I say, as Danny's sort of alluded to there, he's quite right. It's that thing of not spending all of your time looking for the work and then getting the work. It's actually doing the work, and I suppose the bottom line then as well is earning the money, because that's what sort of pays the bills. But then the other side of that is people who are trying to procure these services and find the right people, not wasting all of their time on this kind of process and just cutting through to what they actually need and then delivering it. Everyone wants to be out there delivering it and developing and, making strides forward. The actual process of finding things shouldn't be the thing you spend your most time on. And that seems to me to be what a lot of people are spending their time on at the moment.
Definitely. I would say I spend a good chunk of my time looking for suppliers. I'm sure the suppliers themselves spend a lot of time trying to connect on that as well. So we've talked about, and I love the strap line that you mentioned there, or the elevator pitch, the love child of Trustpilot and Airbnb for L&D. I think that sums it up really well. We've talked a lot about what it does and who it might be for and how it might help people and what problems it might solve. Can you talk to me in practical terms about what actually is it? Is it an app? Is it a website? Is it I don't know. What can you tell me a little bit more about physically? What is the product that you've created?
Yeah, I think I'll take this one, Sam, and jump in where possible if you want.
Yeah, go.
So for a start off, first, Gemma, it's basically a web app. So the best way to look at it is a bit like how you'd use Airbnb, where Airbnb has an app. They also have like a website kind of, the website go to. So it's we can't launch it just yet because we're doing tweaks in the background, but it's already completely mobile ready. So you can do it on your phone, desktop, whatever. But the best way I can try and describe it is you as a person. So let's just say, Gemma, you're a one-man band, yeah? Or you're a Filtered or an X or a Y or a Workday or whatever, how big or how small you want to go. You're going to have your own little your profile there. And your profile is yours. It's you. It's really important. And Sam, you'll probably jump into this about us being impartial. But for us, it's us not to get involved. It's not for us to be that person who says, that's right, that's wrong. So what you do is you get your profile, and your profile is a thing which will give you the kind of, someone will come onto it. It's like your shop window, I guess, is the best way to describe it. On there, people will be able to go on and see what your kind of NPS score is, what your evaluations are like at the back. So we've built in sentiment analysis into it, so it's not just your natural Kirkpatrick. On top of that, like Sam kind of alluded to, we've got out the box, it's going to have market intelligence. So it's going to be a development tool for you as a business as well, because what it's going to say is, you compared to someone who's similar to you, here's some of the things they're doing really well. Here's what we suggest you could do in order to kind of keep proving. So naturally, that tide, it'll continue to rise that tide. Fundamentally, what we need it to be is the one place where everyone goes, the one honest, trusted place. So we've got all that running in. And I guess, Sam, yeah, you might want to jump in a little bit here, I guess, and talk a little bit more.
Yeah, so I suppose as an addition to that, it's being able to find either the right skill set or the right service that you need by essentially filtering out the results. And although we want to bring lots and lots of choice to this particular space, what we don't want is to replace the time you're looking for providers and vendors with sifting through 2,000 results. It will filter down, and you can filter as deep as you want, really, to the kind of skills or the kind of services that you particularly need for your particular challenge, give you the best people that meet that set of criteria, and then give you the opportunity to connect with them and start up the conversation. So as Danny said about the kind of impartiality, we're here just creating this space and creating this place to come and find this. We're not sort of getting involved in that or pushing one particular person or one particular company. You're finding a sort of cold hard truth of it, and then you can judge that however you want, and that's, I think, the fairest way of finding what you need.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what I'm hearing is you guys wouldn't be acting as like brokers or as like market analysts, but you'd just be providing the platform for people to really honestly say what they think about stuff and share what's worked for them and connect people through that. Is that how it plays out?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it.
I think it's important. It was important from us from the get-go, to be honest, Gemma. Like, if we start turning into these brokers and these people, what ends up happening is we end up putting our own bias on who we think our favourite providers are. And what that basically means is the industry doesn't progress from it. It doesn't change, because fundamentally, I might make more money off you than I do off Sue. So of course I'm going to push her. And that for me is the reason why we're in this place. Like, and it's about removing that and going, look, it's like, Bob meet Jane, perfect match, boom, that's it. We don't get involved. Everything what's going to be happening is going to be honest and transparent. And we've kind of said that from the get-go. Like, that's the reason why we won't be doing any sponsorships or any ads on there, because it opens it up to people to going, are they paying you more? That's not how this is going to work.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I love that transparency and that honesty. So it sounds like you guys have got to a place where you've got a bit of an MVP that you're ready to get out there into the world. What's next for Venndorly?
Yeah, so as Danny said earlier, we're still in a position where we're wanting to take feedback and get sort of people's ideas of what they think would work better than maybe what we're suggesting, and there is room for manoeuvre and room for tweaks. So we would encourage people to go and have a look at the kind of proposal we're putting forward, because that's where we are at the moment, and to come forward and say, actually, I'd quite like this, or that's really good, or you could improve it this way, and hopefully then we'll get to a position where the product we release is ideal for everybody.
I think just kind of building on that, Sam, like, the one thing what I'll probably say, Jim, is when I spoke to you about it yonks ago, we was kind of already working on it then. That was just me doing a bit of market research, really. And obviously it helps when you buy me breakfast as well. So
I bought you breakfast and did your market research, Danny.
But it's true. Like it's been like I say, I've been thinking about it for a long time. And then when Sam kind of came in and said, like, what the hell's going on? This is a nightmare. It just made me kind of start drilling home and thinking about it. So yeah, we're working with I say it's a team of devs at the minute. Like right now, I think Sam's already said this, but we've just got the sign up page up there right now. So it's a case of get on the list as soon as it is, we can let you know. But it's kind of, we're not too far off launching it, really.
Exciting times. So where can people go to if they want to sign up to find out more?
So obviously we're across all the socials and Google as well. So however people want to get in touch with us, whether that's through like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, that's fine. Or if you want to go direct to the site itself, if you just Google Venndorly with a double N, that'll take you straight to us.
Okay.
Perfect. And I'm sure, Danny, you will put stuff in the show notes and we will share far and wide.
Hey, sorry we interrupted your podcast, but we just wanted to let you know about Venndorly, where finding learning has developed. At Venndorly, we understand the pain points of looking for reliable vendors and securing new clients. We've created a platform to help you with this, save you time, and help you flourish. We want you to be the first to see it, so head over to venndorly.co.uk and take a peek. That's Venndorly with a double N.
Perfect.
Fab. Well, I'm super excited. I can't wait to sort of have a go on it as a, I suppose, client side. But I'm interested to find out sort of what kind of suppliers that I might find on there. Because you're right, you end up with the usual suspects time and time again, and there could be someone brilliant out there that I might never have known about if it wasn't for something like this. So I can't wait. I think it sounds super exciting. So that's a little bit about Venndorly. I can't gate crash hosting the MindChimp podcast without going to some of Danny's favourite go-to questions. So I am very excited about being able to grill you both on these. And probably with a bit of a Venndorly lens on it, given that you're just about to launch a new product yourselves. Sam, let's go to you first. Social media, do you think it's a net positive or a net negative?
Overall, I think it's a net positive. I think we all know there's some dark places on the internet, and some, especially with social, it's got a sort of dark underbelly. But the majority of that space I found to be really good to connect with people, and especially in the time we're all operating at the moment, where we're kind of all locked in, we need a way of connecting up with people, and it is a positive overall. I think as long as it's treated properly by everyone who uses it.
Good
Nice
stuff. What about you, Danny?
So. How do I play this one? So I like social, right? I like it. I think as a tool it's great. However, the problem is the users. It's not a social problem. It's a user problem, and I think it's easy to get triggered on social. And one of the things, we don't really know the impacts of what social is going to be like in 15 years. I'm sure we'll have lots of data to say the impact it's had on people. But for me, I think it's got. I kind of sit in a grey area because, for now, for example, let's just use Venndorly as an example. It's going to be a great tool for us to reach out to the vendors, to the heads of, and chat and get that going. So for that, it's brilliant, and for small businesses and whatever, it's brilliant. However, the flip side is the fact that bullying happens on there, and people are nasty, and people get triggered and stuff. And I think I like social. I do like it. I think it's powerful, and I think when directed and used in the right way, there's nothing better than it. However, the flip side is when it's used in the wrong way, it's like the worst place to be. So I'm sitting on the fence, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Net neutral.
Yes.
You can't sit on the fence. We'll let you off. It's your podcast. It's fine. So speaking of social then, thinking about the good bits of social, who would be 3 people who you'd recommend to follow?
So I'll jump in here, Dan. For straight off the bat, I'd follow you two guys. I think you're both fantastic people to follow, and content's brilliant.
Yes.
And
Flattery will get you everywhere, Sam.
Yeah. I believe in that. That works. The other thing, I think I'm a big believer in sort of supporting local businesses, and I think that particularly today and the last few sort of weeks and months has come to the fore. And there are lots of businesses out there doing really good stuff, and I think they should be applauded for that. One that's sort of close to home for me and for Danny is a company called Didsbury Gin, and they've currently, I know a lot of producers of spirits and stuff have been making sort of hand sanitizers and stuff for the NHS and key workers in the front line. They've been going above and beyond doing that for free, and on top of that they make really fantastic gin. So if you can get yourself a bit of raspberry and elderflower or Manchester tart from Didsbury Gin, you should get on it.
Win-win, or should I say chin chin. Love it. What about you, Danny?
So I think people who, it's easy, like for me naturally I want to go to my L&D industry and go, these people are great and these people are powerful and empowering and positive and whatever else, and Sam's already picked you, Gemma, so I can't pick you. However, you are always on my list, Gemma, you know this.
Sure.
But I kind of, there's a couple of companies what I really am interested in at the moment who are given, like, you know, COVID and stuff is really fascinating me. So Brewdog, I'm really impressed with their approach at the moment. How they've gone from brewing to kind of getting all the people to go and work as drivers for a supermarket. Then they started doing sanitizer. So like just watching how that business is just dipping and thriving, and I use a buzzword of pivoting. It's just really interesting to see what they're doing, like how they're working. So Brewdog's, you know, that's one I've been really interested in. It's probably more companies. Secret Cinema's been interested as well, because now we can't do the face-to-face. They've done the Secret Sofa. Have you come across that, Gemma?
I haven't actually. No, I love Secret Cinema. I went to the Star Wars one a few years ago, but no, I didn't know they were doing a lockdown version. Tell me more.
Yeah, definitely. So it's similar to how like Secret Cinema works. So basically you get given, you know, hints and tips and whatever else of kind of, you know, what's coming. And then at 7 o'clock, I think it's 7 o'clock on every Friday, you get to watch a movie. So all these people around the world, if that's how big the audience is, are all watching the same movie at the same time on Friday. So it's the same concept. It's so good. So I've enjoyed how watching Secret Cinema do that.
Nice.
And I guess who's the third one? The third one is probably it's more an industry who I've really found really fascinating recently, and that's the design industry. So not the L&D industry as such, because obviously a lot of people in there I kind of already know, and I kind of wanted to be separate to that for this one, because so many people have been on the other episodes and said good names. Hopefully people will go back and listen to all them anyway. Tick. But I think the design industry as a whole, so service designers, you know, experienced designers, design thinkers, human-centered designers, system thinkers, transformational economy designers, like that industry at the moment I've found actually quite welcoming, which has been nice, and it's just a nice it's nice to sit in a different area and just watch how that works.
Nice. Yeah, some fresh perspectives. Love that. And I will definitely be checking out both the gin and the cinema for sure. Brilliant. So together at the same time. Yeah, definitely. So let's think, we're in the virtual Venndorly office, right? Picture yourselves in this lovely gleaming office that doesn't exist because we can't all be in the same room. What is on the stereo in the Venndorly office? What's the start of the day track and the end of the day track for you both?
Oh, wow. So I tend to start the day off mellow. I can't be doing with kind of pumping in your ears tunes at kind of 9 o'clock in the morning. I've got to start slow before the coffee kicks in, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm happy to end the day on a bit more of a high so you can get into the evening a bit more sort of pumped up. In terms of tracks, wow, let me think about this. I'm drawing a blank. Dan, have you got anything?
So I'm trying. I know for a fact me and you were going to say the same ones because we have similar music tastes to a point. You know, there's also a lot.
Let's test that theory.
We're very different. We're very different as well. Having a lot of it. So first thing in the morning, I guess. This is hard because it depends if I'm waking up grumpy or not. Like, so let's assume it's a good sunny day and I'm waking up and I'm the first thing in the morning. I guess I want something quite cool and quite nice to listen to. Yeah, I think Sunset Lovers is a really nice tune. I'm not even going to say the band who do it because I'll actually do it no justice whatsoever. but it's quite summery, quite chilled, quite mellow.
Nice.
Yeah, that'll be my
So
first one.
it's a nice easing into the day in the virtual Venndorly office.
Yeah.
What about the end of the day when you're ready to cut loose a bit? What's going on the stereo then?
This one's to you, Sam.
Wow, so I've got to choose the pumping tune, have I?
Don't say take that. Come on, Sam. Don't.
Do you know what? Not again. I'm still stuck in the indie kid mode, you know. When I was going through sort of college sort of age and coming of age kind of time, it was all indie tunes from like the 90s, and I'm still banging them on whenever I'm trying to get pumped up. So things like Kasabian and all that kind of stuff, I can't get away from it. It chases me around. I think it's going to be with me forever.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with a bit of indie tunes to ease you into the evening. Cool. So we know to come round when we want a bit of pumping tunes motivation in the evening, and we can wake up gently with the nice relaxing music. Awesome. Fab. So there's a couple more questions that I've got, but you have both been excellent podcast guests. I have loved my first time as podcast host. So thank you, Danny, for the opportunity. But before we go on to the sort of final little bit of the podcast, we talked a bit about what's next for Venndorly. Can you share a little bit about what's next for MindChimp, Danny? What's coming up for you?
Yeah, so I think it's important to note that, you know, MindChimp and Venndorly are going to go hand in hand. Like, it doesn't mean that we're going to, you know, we're not going to kill the chimp off. Like, the chimp's here to stay for sure. It just means, so season 2 is going to be coming to an end pretty soon. Season 3, I want to do something different for season 3. So, you know, for example, what I want to do is I want to focus on companies rather than people. So, you know, let's just use a Monzo as an example. So I want to go into Monzo and I want to do, each company's going to get about 3 episodes each. So I want to go in there and speak with the people who do the culture. I want to go in there and speak with the people who do the learning. And I want to go in there and speak with people who do the design. So, you know, maybe that's tech or that's product or whatever. And it's just going to be think of it as a book with 3 chapters. So I'm going to do maybe 8 books and each one's going to have 3 chapters in. So that's the podcast. I think there's going to be a couple of events this year. I'm going to probably do 2 or 3 MindChimp events this year. That's something, and shout out to Joe Byrne, who's like my absolute wingman when it comes to sorting out these events, because she's brilliant. Like, she does all the stuff I hate and all the stuff what needs proper focus. She does that. So yeah, and so we've got a couple of events coming, and then I'm kind of writing a book. So I got a book contract, and then I said I didn't want it. So now I'm gonna probably self-publish at some point. It's probably the L&D book. What isn't for L&D people? It's for designers. So yeah, think to that one. What you
nice, like. Big things. That's exciting. Loads going on there. Yeah. And you heard it here first, hot off the press. Brilliant. No, I can't wait to see where MindChimp goes and how it goes hand in hand with Venndorly. So Sam, just a quick follow up on that for you. What's the future looking like for Venndorly if it's hand in hand with MindChimp? What does that look like?
So we're just running at this now to get fully launched, and obviously we want everyone to come along with us. So it's a case at the moment of just going along and finding us and getting signed up. So as soon as we're ready to go, you're there with us, and that's what we're running at for the foreseeable future.
Perfect. Exciting times. Well, you mentioned earlier we can keep in touch with you on the Venndorly website by signing up or going to socials, and also on the MindChimp socials. I'm sure you'll be sharing it as well, Danny. So final question of the podcast for me is, you gave me some numbers at the start, and regular listeners will know that these relate to random objects. I am lucky enough to have the random object list here. I feel very privileged to know what they stand for. So yeah, I'm going to tell you what these items are, and you can tell me what you might do with them if you end up on a desert island.
I wish I'd known this to start with.
So Sam, you are stranded on a desert island, and because you're a pair, you only get 3 each. So you're in a bit of a pickle. You are stranded on a desert island with an ice cube.
Oh, great, that last.
Some hair gel and a twister mat.
Oh,
what
wow.
do you do?
So I'll be entertained, and I'll look great with the hair gel, and the ice cube's going to last about 5 minutes. So I think I'll be all right for 5 minutes.
5 minutes survival rate on that island. That sounds good odds to me. And Danny, you are lucky enough to have got, so you had 5, 8 and 83. You've got a slipper, just the one. You've got some nail clippers, and you've got some grid or graph paper. What are you going to do?
Right.
Good luck, mate.
Slipper. So slippers, right. So you've seen Castaway, yeah, where he creates that ball and he puts the handprint on and he talks to it. That would be my slipper. So I think I would use.
This is day one. This is day one.
This is just lockdown life, isn't it? You just made a friend out of a slipper.
So I'd probably cut some eyes using nail clippers into the slipper. And then I'd probably have conversations with the slipper to keep me a little bit sane. So there's a nail clippers.
Okay.
And then obviously, I need the nail clippers. I'm sure I could use for some sort of tool for survival. I'm not sure how big the animal is, what I'm hunting with a pair of nail clippers like, but...
an ant.
Yeah. Ooh, this is beautiful too. And then the graph paper. I have no idea with graph paper. I mean, you know what? I'd probably just make it plain. I'd turn the graph paper into a ball, like a little like a paper ball, and I'd just do keepy uppies, like see how many I can get out of it. That was
fair play.
And then die within about 3 days.
Is this slipper called Wilson, Dan, or what?
Yeah, it can be called whatever you want it to be called. I'd go with something like S, so like Sapphire the Slipper. I don't know.
Sapphire the Slipper. Is she the new mascot? Is she the Venndorly mascot? Sapphire the Slipper. Love it. So it sounds like you've got entertainment really sorted there between you with your twister mat and your graph paper keepy up in your slipper pal. I think you're all right. So I'll just have to hope and pray that if I ever get stuck in a desert island or in lockdown, it's not with either of you. But
or Sapphire.
or Sapphire. But no, brilliant. Well, look, thank you both so much for sharing this awesome, exciting new adventure that you're on. It's been an absolute privilege to be able to share it with regular listeners of Mind Chimp. And yeah, I would just say, is there anything else that you want to share? Anything that you want to say about Venndorly just before we finish?
So just come and find us.
Yeah. So first of all, Gemma, I want to say massive well done. So it's not easy kind of doing a podcast at all. And I think, yeah, like you've done well to pick the good questions. And I didn't give us an easy ride, to be honest. But no, thank you for kind of, for coming, doing it and flipping it on us. I really appreciate that.
No, my pleasure. It's been ace. I've loved it. You might be out of a Mind Chimp job, Danny. I'm going to be
this is it.
After your crown.
I mean, to be fair, my Mind Chimp does need a bit of diversity now. So, there's a job there, I'm sure, Gemma. There's a job there for sure.
There you go.
What's a girl chimp called, Dan?
Sapphire.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you, Gemma. I think Sam, you can do the whole Venndorly thing if you want, where we're going, and I'll do the Mind Chimp thing. So Mind Chimp, obviously I'm probably going to slow the Twitter Mind Chimp down, just not because for any reason. It's just that the LinkedIn team seems to be loving Mind Chimp, where the Twitter, it's just a thing where it's another channel. So I'll probably keep it going, but I guess the best thing I can probably describe is, if you want to keep up to date with Mind Chimp, follow Mind Chimp for sure. But it'll probably be coming out via my channel a little bit more. But yeah, Mind Chimp podcast. There's a website on there. Any events I'll probably post there. But just follow me on LinkedIn as well. That tends to be where I push all the Mind Chimp stuff out, to be honest.
Yeah, and then Venndorly, come and find us, Google or LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever you fancy finding us, Venndorly with a double N, and we'll be there waiting for you.
Looking forward to it. I'm sure people will be flocking to it straight after this. Well, thank you both so much. Awesome to catch up, and I can't wait to see where Venndorly takes us.
Thanks, Gemma.
Cheers, Gemma. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.